The season 3 trailer for The Mandalorian just dropped, and man, I'm excited. Here are my predictions based off of what I got to see in the trailer. First and foremost, we start with him saying that his people are scattered like stars in the galaxy. Remember, the Mandalorian system is massive. There's over 1,000 different planets. There's all sorts of different belief systems that are all held by different Mandalorians. And I think the goal for this season is going to be to try and unite all of those people. I also think that's going to require him to, do the purification ritual on Mandalore, because some of them still believe in the old ways, and he's going to need to unite all of them. To that end, I think that Bo-Katan has been recruited in order to teach him and help him to grow and become someone that could ultimately rule Mandalore. Next, he mentions learning how to navigate the galaxy so you'll never be lost. We see him pick up an R5 unit. Now, we'll have to see if there's any scorching on it to indicate that this is the same R5 unit that we saw in the very beginning of A New Hope. Who knows? But anyways, he's got to pick one up in order to navigate the galaxy like he needs to. Now we see him roll up to Navarro, and it's doing much better nowadays with the Empire gone. Grief Karga looks amazing. He's got the kingly swag, and it's good to see him back. Probably not going to see Cardoon because decisions were made, but, I digress. But I don't think this is going to be a happy reunion. I think he's going to get jumped by a whole group of Mandos. Yes, the Mandalorians that we see dropping out of the sky later in the trailer, I think they're dropping on Navarro. I think they're dropping down to go get the Darksaber from Din, and I think Paz Vizsla is ultimately going to be our big bad this season. I think what we're ultimately going to see is a race against the clock, because Paz Vizsla is going to continue the war and domineering way of the Mandalorians, and they kind of need to move forward. So they need someone like Din who has that empathy in order to be successful moving forward in the future, whereas Paz is going to try and bring them, back, make Mandalore great again, if you know what I mean. I absolutely think this could be best case scenario, because we know that they've had a history together. We know that they've butted heads a little bit all the way back in season 1 of The Mandalorian. Not to mention, this is Paz Vizsla. He is House Vizsla. That means that he feels like he has an actual claim. That lightsaber was crafted by one of his descendants. So yeah, I definitely think that that's going to come to a head. And now for the much deeper subplot. We go back to Coruscant. We see that Dr. Pershing has made a reappearance, and he knows what they were trying to do with Grogu's DNA. We know that there's a much more sinister plan there. We also get the words of Captain Carson popping up. He says, there's something dangerous happening out there, and by the time it becomes big enough for you to act, it will be too late. To me, this can mean one of two things. Either there is another plot having to do with Mandalore and having to take over the Mandalorians, and this might be something that Giancarlo Esposito was part of that we just haven't heard of yet. But I've heard rumors that this might be the last season of The Mandalorian. And if that's the case, I think this needs to be a thread that we started all the way back in season 1. If that's the case, that would explain why they showed Dr. Pershing once they said this. It'd be why we went back to Coruscant. And it's why we saw an Order 66 flashback, because someone was going out of their way in order to get Grogu specifically. Personally, I think it's Palpatine. Remember, Palpatine was able to transfer his essence into a clone Strandcast body, but it was decrepit, it wasn't functional, it couldn't hold his essence, and he's basically a broken down shell trying to pull together some type of semblance of something. He's just falling apart at this point in time and not really able to do anything that he wants to do. He can't enact his plans, and that's why they're after Grogu. I think he organized a secret side mission during Order 66 in order to capture Grogu specifically. I think that's why we got to see Yaddle's Inn in Tales of the Jedi, and I think with Yaddle's body, he discovered something. Next came Order 66. He sends out a crew to find Grogu. And then lastly, he has a battle with Yoda. And he tells his troopers to keep searching until they find Yoda's body. Now, obviously, this could mean, if there's no body, that means he escaped. But it could also mean something else, a little bit more sinister and pretty dark. I wouldn't put that past Palpatine. By the way, when Paz Vizsla comes to Navarro in a full circle moment of when he came to help liberate Din before he comes to attack him, I think he does, and he successfully takes the Darksaber, and he is going to go around and start uniting the clan under him. I think in order to face him, Din is going to need some training, and I think they're going to bring Sabine Wren into it. And I think Sabine Wren is going to show up with Ezra's lightsaber and help train Din how to fight. And at the very end, we're going to have Din Djarin challenge Paz Vizsla for the Darksaber and the throne of Mandalore. Anyways, those are my predictions. Let me know what your predictions are in the comments. And if you like or hate what I have to say, yeah, let me know. All engagement helps.